For the first time in several years, I didn't have any desire or motivation to go out and shoot at all. I really didn't even have any interest in picking up my camera to even start the process of doing photography. And really, since starting in 2018, it's the first time that I actually had felt that way. Sure, in the past, I'd maybe taken a few months off here and there and didn't really shoot much, but I always knew I'd come right back to it shortly afterwards. But this was an extended period of time where I would go months at a time without even touching my camera. And really, for like a year and a half, I just didn't do that much photography, only a little bit here and there. So after coming back to photography, in retrospect, I've kind of come up with these few ideas I think were the largest contributors to why I ended up quitting landscape photography. So I was hoping that maybe some of these ideas that I'm sharing could end up helping some people who were maybe going through a similar level of long-term burnout that I had experienced with my photography, and maybe you could learn something from it. So the first thing, which I think can be pretty much applied to almost anything in life that you kind of end up just walking away from, is that I was just burnt out on the process of it. A lot goes into doing landscape photography, a lot of planning, spending money, gas, all this stuff, and just a general practice and keeping up with it all. It takes a lot, and I think after years of kind of doing that, like I was shooting solidly for 4 or 5 years with only like some month-long breaks in between, I really was just kind of burnt out in the whole process of it. Not just photography, but making these videos as well. Making these videos is just as much work as doing the photography, because I'm carrying 2 cameras with me, multiple lenses, a tripod, and I'm thinking about how can I film a certain hike that I'm going on, that I need to get good photos to go along with it to complement the video. It really is a lot to think about, and I was just really burnt out on it. And I think that's just probably the number one contributor to why you would quit like a creative endeavor or outlet that you have, is that you're just burnt out on it. Now the second one really does kind of go back to being burnt out, not enjoying the process. There are so many steps that go into going on a photography trip most of the time. I mean, yeah, sometimes it can be spontaneous where you just go for a walk or you just decide to drive somewhere, just take photos and you get some nice images. But most of the time when I'm planning my landscape photography trips, it takes a bit of planning. Of course I have to work around my work schedule, so it has to take place on my few days off of work. You gotta make sure the weather is right. You gotta kind of have, like, most of the time for me, it's like a hike that I want to do or a road trip that I want to go on or whatever. And it's just kind of doing the research into where you're going, the hiking, the conditions, the time of year. So that's just kind of part of the beginning process of photography. And then it's actually there, then just carrying all the gear with you, figuring out what you need, which my kit's pretty simple, so I don't have to think about that too much. I pretty much bring the same 2 cameras and lenses with me every single trip I go on. But there's also things like, sometimes gear breaks, or you need to get a different piece of equipment that you might need, that you've been deciding which pieces you should get first. Money comes into play. All of these things really do weigh into the whole photography process. No matter how long you take photos or how long you've been doing photography, like I've been doing it for 8 or 9 years now, sometimes you go a long period of time without getting any good images, and you're putting a lot of time into it and you're just not getting the results that you want. So that can also kind of wear you down as well if you just don't think you're that good. Any photographer know that there are times where you just don't take images that you're happy with. If you're a YouTuber and you're making videos like I do about my photography, I'm just not happy with the videos I'm making either, and the photography plays into that. If I'm not getting good photos, then maybe it makes the quality of the videos less. So now this third idea is a bit more abstract than the first 2, but I would say for me it was questioning why I was doing it. And that was for my photography as well as making videos on my YouTube channels. Like, I just kind of lost track of my why. And I think it's important with anything that you do in life, especially if it's, something you enjoy doing, which enjoying it can be enough, but when you start feeling burnt out on something, like I was speaking of previously, or not enjoying the process anymore, the why becomes really important, because it's not just about enjoying it. You have to kind of understand, like, what does it do for your life? Like, what value does it add to your life? And I think I lost track of, like, what value was it offering in my life. I wasn't really sure anymore. I don't think I realized that until recently, until I was kind of coming back out of that burnout and getting back into shooting again, was that I just didn't really know why I was doing it anymore. And in the beginning, when photography and filmmaking were new and exciting, the why was really easy. I was enjoying doing it, and I was progressing and learning, and I was making videos that I liked, and I was taking photos that I liked, so the why was really easy. But once I became burnout, I really felt like the videos weren't really what I was looking for, or the photos weren't really up to my standard anymore. As you improve as a photographer, your standards go up. So in the beginning, when you first start, it's like any cool photo, you know, is exciting to you and you like it, and that's like a good why. But as you get better, you know, your photos really have to have a much higher standard for you to be happy with them. Don't know your why, it's going to be really hard to continue enjoying the process of something like photography. And then after that, that leads to burnout, and then you end up in a position where you just don't want to do it anymore. So I'm going to share one of my big whys that I kind of discovered recently. And for me, that was, it motivates me to get outside. Photography motivates me to get out into nature, active, hiking, whatever it may be, camping, which ultimately is just good for me, physically and mentally. So that was a really big why for me, and it's probably my number one why as to why I do landscape photography, why I make these videos, is it motivates me to get out and do something. It motivates me to get out in nature, in the fresh air, in the beautiful weather. And I think that coming out with good photos or cool photos is also a big why. But I don't think that wanting to get good photos is enough for me to continue to enjoy the process all on its own. It's part of it, but I really do think that getting outside and enjoying being outdoors and having a respect for nature, that is probably my biggest why. And ultimately, I think sometimes you just need to take a step away, take a step back, take some time away to rediscover why you enjoy doing something so much. And photography was always such a guiding light for me in my life in a way that I think I just needed to take a step back to remember why, or rediscover why I enjoy doing it so much. And ultimately, being outside, being out in nature, and spending time out here, discovering nature, exploring nature, and capturing it with my camera is my biggest why that I do this. I think the final, most important question that you ask yourself after you kind of realize all of these things and you come up with your whys and all of that is, where do you go from here? And for me, where do I go from here is I start going out and shooting again. I start going out and taking photos again. I start going on more hikes again, and I start sharing it on my channel with hopefully people that will watch it and learn something from it and appreciate it. So that's what I'm doing. I'm taking small steps. I'm making these videos again. I'm getting out and taking photos every week again, and it's been great. I feel good about it. And hopefully I can just continue that process and I'll get back into it again. Ultimately, if I start to feel a little bit burnt out again in the future, that is completely natural and normal, and I think it's okay that maybe I'll take some short breaks again in the future. I think the only thing is just understanding why I'm doing that and why I'd want to come back to it again is the most important thing, and probably the biggest thing I pulled from this whole experience. Thank you for watching. If you guys did enjoy anything in this video, feel free to let me know down below and subscribe if you would like to see more. Thank you for watching, and yeah, hopefully you guys get out and do some shooting soon.